much for coming to my very first makeup tutorial. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so excited to finally be doing this tutorial. I've been wanting to do this for a few years now, and I finally have a point in my life where I can do so, and I really look forward to starting it off with a Christmas look that's wonderful for any holiday party you want to go to, that has a little extra something that's going to make you stand out. There's also going to be a nice, very pretty look we're going to do later for a Christmas look, but for today we're doing something that catches people's eyes. And what we're going to be doing is the Christmas snowfall look, which is this lovely eyeshadow look with these beautiful Christmas reds and this white pattern to make it look like snowfall. I've had so many compliments on this look, and I'm so excited to share it with you. Thank you so much for coming. Let's get started. So first we're going to start off with our eyes, and I like to start with the eyes because any fallout that you might have down here around your cheeks, or any cleanup, any precision work you need to do, you can do much easier before your foundation's done, because once the foundation is done, it's much harder to clean it up. So we're going to start with the eyes, and we're going to use one of my favorite tricks, which is the Scotch tape trick, because I like a very precise line right along my eyes. I love the winged liner, and I want it to be very precise. I want it to be very clean cut, and one of the best ways I found to do that is to use Scotch tape of all things. So let's try that.
May those days, may your days, may your days be merry and bright. And may all your Christmases be white. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where those treetops listen and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. But then I am dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days, may your days, may your days be merry and bright.
Okay, so now that the eyes are done, we need to go in and do the rest of the face. And I'm going to start by using my Hard Candy Sheer Envy Primer Perfecting. This is an absolutely wonderful primer. It's really great for large pores. I have giant pores, and this helps smooth them out. It helps tone the fine lines I have naturally under my eyes. I do go ahead and wipe just a little on my lips, because when I apply my lipstick, I want it to stick really, really well. And I just find that it tends to help when you just wipe the primer all over. Now, for all of you Smashbox fans out there, there's a very good reason I'm not using Smashbox primer, and that's because the foundation I'm wanting to use today is my Holy Grail of foundations. It's the NARS Sheer Glow Foundation, and this is the color Mont Blanc, and I'll show you that real quick. It's a really nice color. And because I'm so pale, it's very hard for me to find a very nice, very accurate color because it usually whites me out. This foundation doesn't do that. And the reason I'm not using a Smashbox primer underneath this foundation is because Smashbox is silicone based, which means that it's covering your pores with a silicone, and the NARS Sheer Glow foundation is actually a water-based foundation. So all it's doing is allowing the foundation to collect water on top of your face. And I know I've had problems with little beads of water on my nose and on my forehead and on my lips, and just areas you don't want to have those little beads of moisture. And I've only ever had that problem when I use the combination of this foundation with that primer. Now, a little goes a long way with this NARS foundation. It is called Sheer Glow, but it goes on much more like a full foundation or a medium to full, depending on the coverage you want. I love full coverage. I have a lot of natural redness in my face that doesn't match my neck, doesn't match the rest of me, and I want to get rid of that. I also have a little bit of acne. For example, the monstrosity that was on the end of my nose that I'm trying to get rid of. And I wanted to cover it up. I want it gone. So I really like to apply and apply and apply until I get a very full coverage. And that doesn't take very much with the NARS, especially when you expect it to be a sheer foundation because it's called Sheer Glow. It's absolutely not. So now that we've got all that on, because I do have these natural creases under my eyes, especially when I smile, I am gonna just go in with my pinky and kind of buff it out. Now, to get rid of this monstrosity on the end of my nose that I just can't seem to get rid of this week, I'm going to go in with the NYX HD Studio Photogenic Concealer in green. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with this technique, I know it can seem a little daunting at first to put green on your face. It took me a very long time to try this technique because it just didn't make sense to me that you could put something that colorful on your face and not look like a clown. But if you put it on and then just fade it out with a beauty blender or a sponge of any sort, or even a brush, just blend it in really well and then go back over it with just a hint of your foundation. And what that green does is it takes away the redness and it makes it a lot harder to see that little monster pimple I have on the end of my nose. And so the greens are really great for any redness you might have, any acne, anything of that sort. So now that we're done with that, we finished the entire face, we're going to go in and start highlighting and contouring. And my all-time favorite highlighter is the Tarte Shape Tape. This is absolutely unbelievably amazing, and this is the color Fair. And it is so very hard to get this color. It's very hard to get this. It's very hard to get light. They sell out like crazy, and there's a very good reason for it because it really, really works better than almost anything I've ever used. And another really great thing about the Tarte Shape Tape is it comes with a doe foot applicator, but let me just show you. This is a regular doe foot applicator. This is from the NYX HD Photogenic, the green I just used. This is a regular applicator tip, but this is the Tarte Shape Tape tip. There's a huge difference here, and that means that you're not going to have to use as much as you would think you would need to. So we're just going to do 3 little dots under each eye. a little on the chin, a little around the lips, and then we're gonna do the nose. And this is our war paint. This is what we're doing when we want to look fierce and we're coming to take the day. Now, this triangle under your eyes actually helps highlight better than just putting a line under your eyes, because the light naturally catches this top part of your cheeks, and that's the whole point of the highlighter, is to create more focus on where the light naturally hits your face. And so that's what we're going to be doing. And to fade all of this out, I'm just using my Real Techniques Beauty Blender. I'm not the biggest fan of beauty blenders or sponges in general, because they're hard to clean for starters, but beyond that, I feel like they pick up too much product, and I just don't care for it. I'm much more of a brush person. I love my brushes. I feel like they give me the flawless finish I want. But with that being said, the Beauty Blender is going to give you the fade you want, because you don't want to look like you did draw a triangle on your face, because that completely completely defeats the purpose of the illusion we're trying to create, which is a light illusion. It also allows you to get up in the corners of your eyes better than most brushes can, unless you're using a really, really thin brush. And I don't particularly want to use 50 different brushes. Just put on my concealer. So overall, the Beauty Blender works fine. The only thing I really use it for is my concealer, because like I said, I'm not a big fan of sponges at all. But it does work really well, especially with this concealer. This concealer is absolutely beautiful. It's about a shade or two lighter than I naturally am, which is a feat in and of itself, because I'm already so pale. It's very, very, very hard for me to find a concealer or a highlighter that's even paler than I am. It's almost impossible. But this one is so wonderful, and you can already tell it's drawing the focus into this area, onto my lips, away from my cheeks, away from my chin, away from this little bit of a double chin I'm starting to get. It's away from the big forehead. It's drawing the focus in here, and that's what you want. So now we're going to go in with one of my favorite bronzers, which is the Too Faced Sweethearts Baked Luminous Glow Bronzer in Sweet Tea. I really, really love this bronzer. It's very shimmery, but it goes on not super bright, not super shimmery, it's not flashy, but it goes on really nice. And especially for somebody as pale as I am, it's hard to find a bronzer that doesn't make you look muddy. And if you're not quite sure where to contour on your face, there's a couple of different ways to find out. Typically from the top of the ear down to the corner of the lips is going to be where your natural contour is. If you're having trouble finding it, all you have to do is do what we used to do in grade school and make a fish face. Make sure to blend upwards rather than down, because when you blend down, it just looks somewhat theatrical, and it's not going to give you the look you want. I mean, unless you're in the theater and about to put on a play, and then you're good. Now, a lot of people miss this step because they just don't think about it, but when you smile, especially when I smile, I get these nice curved apple cheeks. So you want to come up and make that curve with the bronzer just to help contour. Now, you also want to contour under your chin if you're like me and you don't want a lot of attention drawn there. So just make your line and then blend down. And if you find that your bronzer isn't blending as much as you want it to, or it's a little bit darker than you want it to be, just take your hand and blend it by hand, because your hand is a wonderful tool. It's going to be able to help blend it down into your neck even better. Now, when you get ready to do your forehead, it's very, very light. You don't have to, I am barely brushing this onto my face because you don't want to look muddy, which is an absolutely easy thing to do when you're as pale as I am. It doesn't take much to look muddy, and that's not what we're going for. If you find that you've put on just a little too much bronzer and you do feel like it's too dark, or maybe you have like I call it a sun line because it looks like a horizon coming up over the land, and that's not what you want either. You want it to fade. So if you find that that's a problem, go in with your beauty blender. You do not have to apply any more concealer. The beauty blender is going to hold just enough for you to go in and do a little more of a fade on your bronzer. And that's taken care of. Now, as far as your nose goes, I like to contour my nose because while I already have a fairly thin nose, I just think it looks better when I contour it. So I'm going to be using my Tarte brush. I got this as a sample actually, and it just works really well. It's a very thin end. It's just really nice, and it helps create that very thin line down from the eyebrow, down the nose, and then you just fade it down like a shadow. Because that's really all we're doing with the bronzer, is creating or amplifying natural shadows. Now, I know you guys see me blowing on my brush a lot. I am not a fan of excess powder. I love using powders. I will use powders 9 times out of 10, but I'm not a fan of excess powders. They go everywhere. They get on my clothes. They get on the rest of my face. They get where I don't want it. So every time I swish a powder or do anything of that sort, I always make sure to blow on the end of the brush, and it's going to get most of the excess that you don't want falling everywhere. So now that we've finished the face, I'm also going to go ahead and go in and use a highlighter or an illuminator. I've heard it go with both. It really just depends on what specifically you're looking for. I'm going to be using the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector in Pearl. This is a really gorgeous illuminator, and it's so shiny. It's just absolutely amazing. And one unfortunate side effect, amongst others, of being as pale as I am, which I know I've mentioned multiple times, is that even finding an illuminator or a highlighter is very difficult, because even highlighters can sometimes look muggy on my face. They can sometimes look a little more gray and muggy than what I'm looking for. Now, to highlight right here in the Cupid's bow, because you want to draw attention to your lips, I just like to put a little on the end of my finger and then just rub it across your Cupid's bow. And that tends to really get that beautiful highlight right there above your Cupid's bow. And we're just gonna lightly brush a little bit of illuminator right along the nose. We don't need excessive sight of our nose. Mostly the cheeks, up onto the high cheekbones is what you're looking for. Look at this highlighter. It's absolutely glorious. I adore this highlighter. This is probably one of the best highlighters I've ever used. Its rival is Tarte. Tarte also has some really, really gorgeous highlighters that come in very pale colors that aren't ridiculous, but they aren't muggy as well. But Becca, I mean, that's just gorgeous. I can't even with this highlighter. I can't. But now it's time for eyebrows.
Just like the ones I used to know.
Now, the one thing I did forget to do while doing my face earlier is to apply my blush. And one of my favorite blushes to use is the Too Faced Sweetheart Perfect Flush Blush in Peach Beach. This is a really just breathtaking blush. It's a very shimmery, golden, pinky blush that gives a really nice pigment to the face when you don't want something super pink, you don't want something super deep, you just want a little flush to your cheeks. This is going to get it. I don't like to put a whole lot of blush on the very apples of my cheeks because I do have very large cheeks. I don't want to draw a whole lot of attention to them, but I do like to put it right there along the contour and highlight right in the middle to kind of help cohesively bring it all together and make it look flawless. I love this combination of colors with the Sweet Tea bronzer, the Peach Beach blush, and the Becca Pearl highlighter. Now we are going to go ahead and move on to the lips, and one of my favorite new lips is the NYX Ombre Lip Duo. This is an ingenious idea, and when I first saw it, I thought it sounded a bit ridiculous because it just didn't sound like it would work very well. But I'm going to be using the color Freckles and Speckles, which is a nice neutral pinky, rosy, mauve-y color. Here. And see, it's already starting to get a very nice ombre fade effect. And all you're going to do is try to put it together. And then fill in. So that's the entire look. We have this really beautiful white, snowy, red, Christmassy eye with a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous ombre lip and some really wonderful colors that are happening here. Thank you so much for tuning in to my very first makeup tutorial. I'm so glad you joined me here, and I hope to see you soon. Please remember to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you like, what you didn't like, what could maybe be better, and I hope to see y'all soon, and Merry Christmas.